Okay, what's going on here? Should have. That's odd. Internet should be cool. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports. We have with us in the room STACY MCKINLEY. We're just waiting just for the connection to settle itself down. We've got STACY MCKINLEY in the house. Did say we're having some connection issues from his end. Yep, we have got some connection issues for his end. But we're just waiting for STACY to connect. He's in America at the moment in a hotel room. And you know that these internet connections can pop in and out. I think we've got STACY coming back in now.
Okay.
STACY, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Just resting.
Fantastic. Okay, let's get you in. So, Happy New Year, STACY. How are you doing?
I'm doing real good, man. Happy New Year to you and all your followers.
Thank you so much. We've been playing catch up, trying to catch you here and there. I know you were very busy, but I finally got you nailed to the corner again to get you to give us some more exclusive information. So, as we know, you're in a hotel with your champion, WBA heavyweight champion of the world, Trevor Bryan, who is making a defense of his title this weekend. Can you tell us more about that first and foremost?
Well, you know, we've been training real hard, and we was training to fight Manuel Shaw, but like it was before, he couldn't get a, I think it's a P1 visa to make it to the fight. So we got another kid that Jonathan is standing in for Trevor Bryan. He's 17 and 0 with 2 draws or something like that. So we're looking for a good tough fight. He's a tough kid, and Trevor Bryan is ready, and we got to get past this, and look like we got some good things lined up for us.
So what do you know of the opponent? Yes, he's 17 and 0. Would you say it's a padded record? Is it a dangerous fight? Is it a tune-up fight? How do you see this fight with your expertise within the heavyweight division?
Well, we train extra hard, okay? We train extra hard for this fight. I researched the kid. I know some people that know the kid, and they told me, said, well, you know, don't underestimate this kid because he can punch and he comes to bang. He comes to fight. He's hungry. He's never fought on this level before, but he has a good record. So the WBA approved him, and he's weighing about 250 pounds. So he's a heavyweight. He's big. So you can't just take him light. So we train extremely hard for this fight.
You know, to be honest, Trevor Bryan, for whatever reason, hasn't really had the exposure that the other heavyweights you talk about, from Tyson Fury to Anthony Joshua, the big names, Deontay Wilder. Although he's world champion, he hasn't had that exposure yet. So surely this fight in the weekend, it's essential that he gets the win and looks good. How much is that important to you?
Well, it's very important to me. You know, Trevor Bryan hasn't had the exposure, and it's simply because of the guys who had the networks, like Al Heyman and all of them. They had Showtime locked down, then HBO got out of boxing. At first, Trevor Bryan was fighting on Showbox, and then all at once, you know, all the dates was taken by PBC, and we offered to fight Gerald Miller. We offered to fight all these guys, but then they all refused us and turned us down. So he hasn't had the exposure, but people in boxing know who he is, and in a way, it's kind of a good thing in one way, because everybody now is looking for some new talent, that they want to see new talent in the big fight. So Trevor Bryan is somewhat as a sleeper, and his last fight, if you listen to the commentator, Nate Cameron said, well, this guy, Trevor Bryan, seemed to be a total package. I think he was kind of surprised that at his skill level. There's no other fighter out there in the heavyweight division, except maybe for Tyson Fury, that has the skill level that Trevor Bryan has, and he's going to display it. You'll get a chance to display it.
You know, sometimes they say the best kept secret in boxing, but the best kept secret in boxing, or best kept secrets in boxing, are not always the guys that get paid the best or get the best exposure. Is that something that you want to that tag you want to kind of get rid of in 2022 and be known now as a heavyweight with real talent and a credible heavyweight? And when I mean credible, not being disrespectful to Trevor, but his name is in the top 3. You know what I mean by that. You know, he's not credible. You know what I mean? Not credible, but he's He can be credible within, obviously, you as a trainer, and the hardcore boxing fans know who Trevor Bryan is. But for the
Right.
wider audience, his credibility in terms of who he is, because of his marketability and his visibility, people make people credible that way, even if they can't fight. You understand what I'm saying? They can't fight, but they're credible because you see them. Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you here?
Well, they don't, you know, the people who heard about Trevor Bryan, they don't know much about Trevor Bryan. The boxing people know about Trevor Bryan, and because of his amateur background, Trevor Bryan was the Olympic alternate for Dominic Brazil. You know, they really were going to put Trevor Bryan in, should have been in the Olympics, but then he decided to turn pro. He came with me and decided to turn pro. But I understand exactly what you're saying. You know, he's not a household name in the boxing world, but like I say, a lot of people looking for talent. They're looking for other talent. They tie us in the same old fights. So they want, you know, you got Tyson Fury keep talking about fighting Wyatt and all those guys, and there's nothing happening. So, and we don't know what Joshua is going to do. So people want to see something new and new faces. And Trevor Bryan in 2022, you'll get a chance to see Trevor Bryan emerge from the darkness.
The American heavyweight division is crying out for a champion. We've had Deontay Wilder, but what about Trevor Bryan? Where does he fit in this mix? Is he a guy that the Americans can look to and have hope in?
Well, right now he's the only American heavyweight champion that has a title. He has the only title that has a title. So, you know, all the belts is overseas, you know, and the people in America, you know, they're going to get behind Trevor Bryan. Trevor Bryan can talk. He's a big guy. And I think once they see that his skill level, then they begin to think, hey, you know, maybe this guy be the one of the leaders. I mean, you know, Deontay Wilder was a good fighter, is a good puncher, needed a lot of work. And I think that he came up short because of the fact that, and everybody was telling him, you know, you need to get somebody to help you with your skill set. So he came up a little short, but he did a lot. He did a lot for boxing here and did a lot for himself. And he still may be around, but I think that Trevor Bryan going to take it on to another level. I really think he is.
Okay, so now I'm asking you questions about Trevor Bryan, not really because I am aware of Trevor Bryan, obviously because I know you, but I'm asking these questions so that people that are listening in really do tune in to see Trevor Bryan, because the WBA, the title itself, is a legit belt. We know that this belt has got legacy behind it. We know that Ali, and it's the oldest belt in heavyweight boxing, but because of the way the WBA rankings have been, it's almost become farcical. So people dismiss the WBA's legacy because of not only the farcical rankings, but the stuff that's happened over the years. How much does that affect the current heavyweight champion of the world, do you think?
Well, I think that it had a lot to affect it in quite in a way. But what if you noticed recently, the WBA has made a lot of changes. They got rid of a lot of belts and a lot of weight divisions. So I think in 2023 that you only have one belt in each division. I think that's what's going to happen at the end of 2023. So they're trying to clean all that situation up with all these different belts. So people don't know who the champion is, and this champion and the silver champion and all that. They cleaning all this stuff up. So I think that people want to see one champion. I think that's what we're going to have in 2023.
Because people who are not really up with boxing will say that Trevor Bryan is a paper champion, but we know that that belt is a legit belt. That's the one that's got legacy. The WBA super belt is like I don't know, it's just like a belt that was thrown in there. So if the WBA were to clean things up, then Trevor Bryan would be a legitimate champion, which he is because of the belt, and undisputed would then be a problem. Because if Usyk and Tyson Fury were to fight, they couldn't fight for undisputed because that WBA belt has more legacy to it than the WBA super belt. Can you explain that one?
Well, you know, like I say, what happened was the WBA and the WBC and all those bodies, they was looking for a bigger audience. So they came up with all these belts. Okay, we get this champion, then we put them all together. But the bottom line is the belt that Trevor Bryan has is over 100 and some years old. All your great fighters had that belt. That's where the history is behind that belt. The super belt that you had, there's no history. There's not even 10 years worth of history. There's not even 5 years worth of history behind that belt. So Trevor Bryan actually is the heavyweight champion of the world. There's no doubt about it. That belt is even older than the WBC belt. So it's the oldest belt, and it is the belt, the championship. Now, we need to fight Tyson Fury. We need to fight AJ, Anthony Joshua. We can fight Yusuf. Any of those guys, all we need is to win. We offered to fight Deontay Wilder. They didn't get back with us. They turned us down. So it's not a question of where we've been ducking and dodging. That hasn't been the problem. The problem has been that most of these promoters, well, we don't want to deal with Don King. We don't want to deal with Don because Don drives a hard bargain, which simply means one thing: Don know the numbers. They know that Don know the numbers. And so that makes it kind of hard and difficult. But right now, the WBA has got behind Trevor Bryan, and they're gonna do the right thing. And hopefully that Tyson Fury fight Yusuf, and we get the winner. Or I prefer to fight Joshua. Joshua need a belt, so I prefer to fight Joshua right now.
That would be if Joshua were to step aside, that would be a good fight, actually.
Sure it would. Look, let me explain something to you. Right now, Joshua can't beat Trevor Bryan. There's no doubt about it. He can't beat Trevor Bryan. And I think that most of the people, if they saw Trevor Bryan fight Yusuf, they would be really, really, really surprised at how Trevor Bryan can handle him. Most people are surprised when they see him fight, see him work out anyway. All the guys, Shannon Briggs, Jamil McCline, all those guys that worked with Trevor Bryan, Povetkin, Alexander Povetkin. I mean, I had him working with Alexander Povetkin. I had to stop him. I had to stop Trevor Bryan. So, oh, take it easy, man. This guy getting ready for a title fight. You can't do this. So the people that see him fight, actually see him fight, would be surprised. And I'll tell you something else that I really like. I've always been high on Tyson Fury. I've been high on Tyson Fury. I think he had multiple skills. I used to love his body rhythm, his shake and bake rhythm. I think he picked up a lot of stuff from Jersey Joe Walcott. I think he picked up a lot of stuff from Ali. He had this natural rhythm, but I noticed his last fight, or his last couple of fights, he got away from that shake and bake. Once he got away from that shake and bake, I saw holes in his shield. I said, wait a minute. If this guy gonna get away from that shake and bake, I said, Trevor Bryan stands a good chance to beat Tyson Fury. And this is what I saw. So right now, we just got to get through this fight Saturday night and let the WBA and the WBC and Don and the promoters work together. Let's work something out. Let's get this thing over with.
Don King, obviously he's putting this show on again. What does this mean for heavyweight boxing or boxing in general? The return of Don King yet again. He never went away, but the fact that Don King's put on a show again, what does this mean for boxing?
Well, I tell you what, and I'll sit there today during the press conference today, and I saw the old Don King. I saw the Don King of old. I saw the Don. In fact, he went on and on and on and talking and talking, and you know how he promote, he bring the history and everything into it, and he never missed a beat, and his voice was strong, and there's a lot of press was there, and I said, you know what, Don has returned, because this press conference now, if I made a comparison, I've been to top ranked press conferences, I've been to PBC press conferences, and this is the first time I've seen one that's elevated like this. Because Don King is promoting boxing, but he also promotes the people. So he hasn't changed. His format is right there. And then the history, him talking about the history itself, and has promoted over 600 world title fights all over the world, including the Rumble in the Jungle and the Thriller in Manila and all of these different things. So we got a chance to relive that and hear it all again today. And I said, we know that Don is back.
Wow, that's a fantastic thing to know. So I really wanted to push with this Trevor Bryan situation. The other thing, we did an interview way back, and we spoke about the Daniel Dubois fight. Do you remember?
Right.
And you said then that Daniel Dubois would be a fight that you guys would love. What's the situation with this Daniel Dubois in 2022?
Well, right now he's mandatory for Trevor Bryan's belt. Okay, he's mandatory. Now, what I can see, And from what I heard and what I can see and from what I read, is Frank Warren is pushing that fight. He's pushing the fight to get Trevor Bryan in there with Dubois. But let me explain something to you. Also, I can feel and sense there's something about them pushing that they really don't want that fight. I don't think they really want the fight. I think they just don't have any place to go. And so I think that they're going to take the chance. I think it's too soon. I think it's too soon to put him in there with Trevor Bryan. And then you might say, well, why is it too soon? Because he's been fighting on television. People know who he is, but he's been fighting guys that I can beat, except for Joy. I mean, I know I can't whoop Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is a dangerous fighter. There's no doubt about it. Joe Joyce is one of the best heavyweights out there. And people don't want to believe it because he looks like he's slow. But he's very methodical. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'd rather fight Dubois any day than to fight Joe Joyce. That's the difference. Joe Joyce is a dangerous man. And I know that I think that I know something about heavyweight boxing. But they keep putting Dubois. He said, well, we want to fight him. We want to fight Trevor Bryan next. Then they said, well, we need a couple of fights before we fight Trevor Bryan. They said they want to fight in March. So I said, well, we're going to fight in March. Let's go ahead on and fight Trevor Bryan. Let's get this thing over with. If that's the way the WBA said we have to go, then let's do it. Because if it's Tyson Fury and Yusuf fight, they're going to put us in a situation where we're going to be waiting another year to fight one of those big guys. Let's go ahead on and get this guy out of the way.
What does Dubois bring to, I mean, people will see Dubois, particularly in the UK, as a big puncher that comes forward and takes people out. What's your take on that?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I just did something on the internet on Facebook the other day. And by the way, I just got Facebook about a month ago because I ain't like all the gossip. But then I guess I had to do it. But anyway,
yeah, I see you every day.
Yeah, so I was reading somewhere where somebody was talking about the big punches in boxing, and I read and I heard them talking about Dubois. He's a big puncher, and I don't see all of that. Mm-hmm. I don't see all that big punching. Now, let me tell you the difference between somebody was mentioned something about, well, Deontay Wilder is a great puncher. He should be with the all-time top. Now that's a difference. Hitting Stacey McKinley, and hitting some other fighter is a whole different ball game. Now, if Deontay Wilder was hitting Muhammad Ali or hitting George Foreman, they wouldn't be going out like that. But him hitting Deontay Wilder, hitting Stacey McKinley, and Stacey McKinley probably go out. So it all depends on who you punching. So Dubois is getting all these knockouts, but these are guys that I can knock out. So if you put him there with a guy who can really take a shot, then you're gonna find out. I had to, when I was an amateur fighter coming up, I was known as a big puncher coming out of Detroit. And first, and a lot of people say, well, you're the second hardest puncher to Joe Louis. I said, yeah, you got knockout power. Then I thought that everybody I hit would go until I ran up on a guy by the name of Frank Brown from Flint, Michigan. I was hitting him with right hands. He wasn't going any place. So it all depends on who you hitting can determine you're a big puncher. That's what that is. Now he's a big heavyweight. He looks the part. The guys that he's hitting, they falling out like and early. But what happened when you hit somebody that don't go into place? Now you got to fight. There's a whole different ball game. Yeah,
like Joe Joyce.
Yeah, like Joe Joyce. He hit Joe Joyce, but he didn't go into place. So now you got to start the thinking. You got to change the strategy. The guy's not going out in 5 or 6 rounds like the other guys do. Now you're looking at a 12-round fight, and guess what happened? You got caught up with, and nothing you can do. So you took a knee, you quit, you took a knee. And again, the example, I hate to use this, but I use it because Tommy Hearns is a dear friend of mine. We came up in the same era in boxing. Tommy Hearns was knocking out everybody. Tommy was turning them over 1 round, 2 rounds. The hitman, the most feared man in boxing, basically at the time, especially at the weight division. And when he got ready to fight Sugar Ray Leonard, and I made a statement, I said, you know what? Let me tell you something. Tommy ain't gonna beat Ray. And they got pissed off at me because I was down there working with them. And they said, I said, no, he's not gonna beat Ray. Now Ray made a statement. He said, I'm gonna take him out in deep water and I'm gonna drown him. That's the statement that Sugar Ray Leonard made. Now, simply what he meant was all those knockouts gonna hurt you in the end, because I'm gonna extend you to a place you've never been before, and you won't be able to stay there. And that's what happened. So it's the same thing what Joe Joyce did with Dubois. He extended him into an area where he'd never been, and he was getting hit all along, all the way. So now you can't stay there because you've never been there before, and you can't adjust because you don't know how. You can't readjust to what he never knew what Joyce was doing to him. I could see it.
From the first round, touching with the jab, touching with the jab, touching with the jab, all in that eye. And Dubois never blocked one jab to his face. Not one.
That's one jab. Not one jab, because he hasn't been taught how to do it. He doesn't know how to do it. And so he was easy to hit with a jab. You hit it with a jab, you hit it with the right hand. You hit it with the right hand, you hit him with the left hook. So I'm not worried about him now. Trevor Bryan standing there flat-footed and let the man punch on us. Is a different ball game. But our defense is good. Trevor Bryan is a full fighter. He's all around offensive and defensive fighter. So it's something that, hey, let's get it on. All you got to do is get it on.
Have you seen? I asked this question, trainer to trainer. Have you seen the progression of Dubois since he's changed trainers and gone to Shane McGuigan?
Well, look, I haven't seen anything that tells me that Dubois is deserved to be in the top 3 or the top 5 fighters in the world heavyweight. I haven't seen anything like that, because the guys that he fought. I mean, it doesn't say, even if it was old veterans, he hasn't done anything. So I don't see the change in him at all. And another thing is, McGuigan, you can't teach what you don't know. You got to know these things. You got to know these heavyweights. You got to know the history of the heavyweights. You got to study these heavyweights. And it's obvious that this guy getting hit with everything, left hooks, right hand, jab. If I can hit you with a jab, I can hit you with anything. So there's a lot of work to be done. And the guys, they sticking to home. And I like Frank Warren a lot. In fact, Frank and I, when he did a couple of fights with Mike Tyson with him, but I like Frank. But the guys don't have the proper training, the basic fundamental training and the defense in boxing. They don't have it.
I want to hold you at that point right there, which is a nice kind of like segment into the last time we spoke about Anthony Joshua. You believed he needed to change his trainer. But since then, I sent you the interviews he's been doing, and he's gone about on a tour of trying to find himself a new trainer. He was in Canelo's gym. He was with Ronnie Shields. I spoke to you about that briefly. The rumor is now that AJ's selected. Rumor is that he selected Robert Garcia to be his full-time trainer. Your thoughts on Joshua's shopping for a trainer, leaving Robert McCracken, staying with Robert McCracken while shopping for a new trainer, leaving Robert McCracken, and then deciding to go with Robert Garcia? That's what people are saying. Anthony Joshua's gone to figure out the Usyk problem, if he's going to take the Usyk fight, that is.
Well, look, I know Robert Garcia very well. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question and ask Joshua a question. How many heavyweights have you seen Robert Garcia train?
You don't have to ask me that question. I've been asking that question to my viewers for the last since I've known about this Robert Garcia thing. He's trained one of journeyman heavyweight. That's it. Tonight we spoke about it. I said, like you said, you can't train what you don't know. And Robert Garcia has already worked with middleweights and welterweights. So I don't know how he's training a heavyweight, but your guess is as good as mine.
Well, the situation is Joshua. I can, what Joshua need. Robert Garcia can't give it to him. with the mind, the frame of mind that Joshua's in. Stacey McKinley can't give it to him. Ronnie Shields can't give it to him. They can't give it to him because of his mental mindset. Okay, his mindset is not together. You get to bring, the fight started in the head. That's where the fight is. The fight is all in the head. And if your head ain't right, everything else ain't gonna be right. That's just the bottom line. Now, I know how to get him right, but I'm not gonna tell him. And if I did tell him, he probably wouldn't believe it anyway. But if I told him the history, if I went and told him the history, okay, this is what you need to do to get your head straight. He wouldn't believe it. He would say, no, that's crazy. But now if I sit down and show him and say, look, this is what Muhammad Ali did, is what I'm asking you to do. This is what Sugar Ray Leonard did, what I'm asking you to do. This is what Joe Louis did, what I'm asking you to do. This is what Ray Robinson did, that I'm asking you to do. This is what President Ronald Reagan did, what I'm asking you to do. This is what the U.S. military is doing to a lot of our top soldiers, but I'm asking you to do. See, he doesn't know all of this.
No, he doesn't.
He would say, oh my God. Then he might say, well, it may be something to that. If I could implement that into his training, his whole head would be different. He wouldn't have no problem.
What do you make of him? What do you make of brain training and motivational, listening to motivational videos and audio books?
Well, that's listen to motivation videos and audios. That's good. I mean, it can't be bad. I know that Ray Leonard used to watch all these movies, these gladiator movies and stuff like that before he fought. So that was motivational. That was mind training. But he needs something a little bit deeper than that. I mean, just motivational speaking and all this. It all sounds good, but he needs something a little bit deeper than that. He really does. And the minute he get hit, it's all over with. He'll fall apart.
Was talking to a few people, and they believe that Usyk, particularly one person from Ukraine, said that Usyk would have looked at Joshua for the first time, fought him, thought that Joshua was better than advertised. Like, he fought him, and he's now realized that Joshua isn't that good. He would have calculated and sussed out what Joshua was like. And in the rematch, he won't allow Joshua to get away with the stuff he got away with in the first fight. And will probably stop him inside the distance. What's your analysis on that?
Well, I think that he'll get a good payday. Joshua get a good payday. But I think that whole legacy is gonna be over with. I don't think he can beat Usyk. He doesn't have the mindset to beat Usyk. Let me explain something to you. Joshua's best fight, and when Joshua was at the top of his game, is when he fought Vladimir Klitschko. When he fought Vladimir Klitschko, his mind was strong, his body was strong, his chin was strong, everything was strong. That was one hell of a damn fight. And after that fight, he never was the same. And I think, I don't think his mindset was the same. And I think he was timid after that. He was shell shocked.
He said he never wanted a hard fight like that again.
Well, absolutely. That's what he said. I never want to fight like this. So what did they tell you? I don't want to fight. He doesn't want to fight. I don't think he want to fight anyway. I really don't think he want to fight. I doubt if he take this fight with Usyk.
So you think he'll take the second fight?
I don't think he will. I think it's all talk.
He basically turned and said, "I don't believe the bullshit, at least until I tell you I'm a smart man, I'm a calculated man, I'm a man in control of my business, and every move I make is a calculated move." Well, that's what he said. It was the last video he did.
He said he's gonna make a calculated move, which simply means I'm gonna make a decision on this fight. It all depends on how I'm training, and if I feel that I'm really getting someplace to accomplish something and making a difference, then I'll take the fight. If I don't feel it, because I'm a very intelligent man, I ain't gonna take the fight. He's telling you right now what he's gonna do.
He says, "Don't believe the BS. I ain't taking no step aside money. Yeah, I ain't seen no contract. I ain't seen no contracts." That's what he said.
Right.
Well,
it's at one time in the early part of his career, I thought he was going to be the man.
You said
I
that.
really did. I really thought he was going to be the man, and I was really hurt when he lost. Really, when he lost to Reeves, I was really hurt. It bothered me because I thought it was such a talent and such a waste at this time. Everybody gonna get defeated if they stay in that ring long enough, but it's too early for him to go out the way that he did.
Okay, let's say if taking Stacey McKinley to one side, if you were to advise Joshua to pick one of three trainers, who would one of those three? Give me three trainers that you would pick or you would suggest he could train with, off your heavyweight knowledge.
God, oh, that's a hard one, boy. That's a real hard one. It's very hard. It's very hard because the trainers that could really help him, they all did. And it's all because of the knowledge and the style of the fighter and the mental capacity of the fighter. I don't see anybody that can really put him together. I don't see anybody that can put out everything he need that can really put him together. You're looking at trainers like Luther Burgess from Detroit. He's passed on. Emmanuel Stewart could do a lot with him. He's passed on. Dale Williams and all these trainers, Blackburn, all these trainers are from the Midwest, and they all is passed on. You got other trainers. You got other trainers that can train little fighters and do a good job with little fighters. But what they're trying to do is take the small man moves and put them into the big man, and it doesn't work like that.
It's trouble.
It doesn't work like that. And I give an example. Malik Scott with Wilder. He made Wilder he made him a little bit more aggressive, but he also didn't have no defense. Got hit with everything. So you got to be. It's very hard to say. It's very hard to. I'm trying to pinpoint a fighter that could really, a trainer that could really help him. It's hard to find because he helps a lot, so many different areas. And now let's say I came into his camp. If I came into his camp, everybody else have to go. I don't want nobody in the gym but me and him. Just the two of us. Okay. And that's gonna be a hard thing for him to understand. Because he's gonna try to gather, he thinks that he's gathering knowledge. He gathered knowledge from this guy, knowledge over there. And he thinks, and he put all this together, he come up with the solution. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that.
What did you make of him working with Floyd Mayweather?
But there's nothing that Floyd Mayweather can teach Joshua. Floyd Mayweather's a little man. He fights like a little man. He doesn't know anything about heavyweights. Man, he can show him out, tell him shoulder roll and all that. He can't shoulder roll. Shoulder roll get knocked out. He can't do all that stuff that Floyd does. Now, the guy who trained Floyd Senior, Dale Williams, I just mentioned his name. Now he could help Joshua and stuff like that, but he's passed on. So you don't have it. Now Floyd can't train no Joshua. Come on, please. How many fighters Floyd didn't train? None. Floyd think a fighter should fight like he fought. That's what those guys on that level, that's what they think. It's hard to for a fighter on Trevor, I'm not Trevor, but on Mayweather's stature to come and train fighters. It's hard. They can't. A lot of them try to do it, but they can't train no fighter. But they think they can. The best trainers you got is probably a guy who came out of the amateurs and never been in the pros. Those are the ones who learn, and those are the ones who end up being your best trainers.
Why?
Because they're searching for knowledge all the time to put into the fighter. The guys already at the top, like Roy Jones and all of them try to train fighters. They expect for the fighter to jump from one to right to them right quick. And if they don't do the things that they do in the ring, they don't think they got a fighter. It takes a long time.
This is a good point now you've made. Roy Jones Jr. with Chris Eubank, just to veer off for a second, because you talked about Roy Jones. his fight's coming up this weekend or next weekend against Liam Williams. And people are saying, well, that Roy Jones style might not suit Eubank Jr. Your thoughts?
Well, it's I don't know, man. It's very difficult. I don't know if these guys should be still fighting or what they're trying to prove, but I don't know. But I do know that Floyd can't help Joshua. Now let me give an example. Okay, let me give an example.
Mm-hmm.
I called Redick Bowe. I gave Redick Bowe a call 3 weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Redick, get your bags packed. And he said, well, what's up, Mr. McKinley? I said, I'm bringing you into camp with Trevor Bryan. I said, I'm bringing you into camp with Trevor Bryan. He said, oh, really? I said, yeah. I said, I want you to come in, and I'm going to tell you what I want you to do. I'm going to tell you the things that I want you to do, and the things and he said, well, I sure appreciate it. I said, you won't come in for this fight. I said, but you'll come in for the next fight, because the next fight will be bigger. I'll bring you in for that fight. Now, you may say, well, Stacy, Redick Bowe ain't never trained no fighter. What can he do? Now,
Bowe, good inside fighter, Bowe.
Huh?
Good inside fighter, Bowe.
Yeah,
good
Bowe
jab.
can fight inside and outside.
Mm-hmm.
Bowe can box. Now, where did Bowe? What similarities did Bowe and Trevor Bryan had? Both of those guys is boxing. Both of those guys was trained by Midwest trainers. You see what I'm saying? Eddie Futch trained Redick Bowe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Eddie Futch trained him, man, to it. Eddie Futch trained all of the guys in Detroit. So the same style that Redick Bowe had, I trained Trevor Bryan that's the same style. Now, why would I bring him in there? Not because I need him to teach Trevor Bryan how to throw a left hook, a left jab. I bring him in there for motivation, strength. But motivation, strength. Redick Bowe only lost one fight, but he has the same boxing style basically as Trevor Bryan. So I bring him in, just sit there and say, okay, do this, do that, boom, boom. I said, Trevor, listen to what he say. Now, you got a guy was undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And now, so that's what I tell you about mental training. So psychologically, when Trevor looked around, he said, damn, I got to do this. Stacy tell me do this. But I got Redick Bowe sitting there looking at me. And Redick Bowe said, throw a jab this way. I'll do it because 9 times out of 10 it's going to work. So you got if you're going to add somebody to your program, then get a person who can help you. Not just somebody because the guy got a name, but the guy going to help you. So you got to be able to see all of these things. It's all psychological. I don't need Redick Bowe for technical skills, but it's psychological for the fighter to look up and say, well, I got the undisputed heavyweight champion in my gym. He's just sitting down on the bench. Yes. So you got to know all this kind of stuff, you know.
Where is the heavyweight division in your eyes at the moment, in terms of eras, state, quality?
Well, it's just like the heavyweight division right now is just like the world situation right now. Okay, there's a big gap between the rich and the poor. Now, at the top, you got some pretty good fighters with Tyson Fury and a few other guys is good. Then there's a big gap in between. Okay, they're trying to fill that gap, and I don't see anybody, young fighters, except for a couple maybe, that eventually 4 or 5 years from now can fill that gap. So right now it's good at the top, but then you have to have that gap got to be filled in order for it to keep going, because everybody ain't gonna just jump out of nowhere. And another thing one other thing that I think is gonna be destructive for boxing is the fact that they're taking it out of the Olympics. Now they don't want to have. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. 104 years we've been going to the Olympics. Now all at once they don't have boxing in the Olympics. That's crazy. Which means they can destroy it. You know, totally I want to go to the Olympics. You know,
damn, that's not good. That's not good at all.
It's not good at all. You know, and they're saying, well, that there's too much corruption in amateur boxing. We've been going to the Olympics since 1904. Now all at once, boxing's not good enough for the Olympics. It's too corrupt. Come on, it's crazy. What they're going to look at all these young kids that got gold medals. There won't be no Roy Jones for silver medal. There won't be no Pernell Whitaker and all those guys that won gold medals. There won't be no Joshua that won gold medals. Okay. That's a big platform for those guys when they come out of there. It's a huge platform, and it's a platform where the kids starting out boxing, looking up at those guys, saying, "Wow, I want to get me a gold medal around my neck one day." They're killing all of that. So I think it's a shame and a disgrace myself. So, but the heavyweight division it's going to be a gap in between.
Okay, so let's say Anthony Joshua takes a step aside money, and people are saying, well, it gives him time to work with another trainer or his new trainer. What sort of fighter would you pick for Joshua to fight in a comeback fight?
I would pick a guy that's standing right there in front of him that he can hit.
Dillian Whyte?
Now, Dillian Whyte be too strong for him. I think right now, I don't think he needs Dillian Whyte. I think Dillian Whyte be too strong for him. I mean, he beat him. He beat Dillian Whyte before, but Joshua is not the same fighter that fought Dillian Whyte. So I think he'd be too rough for him, too strong for him. And I think that Joshua, at some point in the fight, would say, you know what? I done tried. I had enough. I think he'll quit.
Okay. So a guy that he could stand in. What about a rematch with Andy Ruiz, a third fight?
And Ruiz will beat him, knock him out. Ruiz got his weight down. He's quicker, he's faster, and he's back hungry again. See, that second fight, that boy went hungry. That boy as big as I don't know what. That boy is eating and partying and everything. He don't care about no boxing. It's kind of like the same thing happened with, and people want to argue with me about this because they love Sugar Ray Leonard, so they just love him, and they argue with me, and they always say, well, Sugar Ray Leonard confused Roberto Duran, all that. That's all BS. He ain't confused no damn Duran. That people don't understand. The first high was the best high. The first high was the best high because both of those guys, mine was on a level that was unbelievable, and especially Duran. His biggest thing is I beat Ray, and when he beat Ray, he came down to Miami, gained about went to 200 and some pounds and all this. Then he get a phone call saying he wanted to fight Leonard. So psychologically, he wasn't up for that. He couldn't get to that high no more. As high as he could go, he couldn't get psychologically that way no more. Very few fighters can rise at mental occasion. They beat the great Sugar Ray Leonard. So to me, the second fight doesn't count. You know?
Interesting. Oh, while you talk about the little guys, you did mention about Porter and Crawford. You did mention that he wasn't interested in that fight, and the result, the way it went, was exactly what you said.
Yeah, that ain't no. That was nothing. Crawford is too bad because Crawford got tremendous skills. He's a tremendous fighter. He got tremendous skills, but due to the politics, these fighters is with this promoter and these fighters with that promoter. See, they didn't follow the code of Don King and Bob Arum. Although Don King and Bob Arum was rivals, they picked the best against the best. They didn't care who else had the fighter. If Bob got the fighter that can make Don fight the best, they gonna put those two fighters together. They didn't go, well, I'm gonna keep my fight over here. We're not gonna fight. We're not gonna do that. So it hurt Crawford in a way. It hurt him in a way. You know, he's still searching and looking. Now he got a big problem with Bob Arum, so I don't know.
Yeah, the problem with Bob Arum. What are your thoughts? Because Crawford's saying that, insinuating that Arum's a racist and black fighters don't get treated the same. What's your thoughts on that? Obviously, you know Arum better than most. So what are your thoughts on it? Is there a bias with Top Rank when it comes to non or to black or colored fighters? Your thoughts on that, or fighters of color?
My thoughts on that situation is very simple. Now, if you go back and you talk to guys like Marvin Hagler deceased now, but you talk to guys like Marvin Hagler, you talk to guys like Sugar Ray Leonard, you talk to some of those other guys who African American fighters that Bob Arum has actually promoted, then you don't hear all of this different thing about racism and he's prejudiced against black fighters and all that, because those fighters was black. Now I think what Crawford's problem is he has all this talent, but like I say, the guys who can make him great, Bob Arum did not promote. If Bob had all those other kids, Spence and all those kids, then he'd been letting Crawford fight those guys, and Crawford would have been a bigger star if he had to beat those guys. So I think that he can't. He looked at the fact that, well, Bob didn't get me Crawford. I didn't get me Spence. Bob didn't get me the big names that I wanted, because you wanted the big money to fight those guys. You wanted Bob to fight, to pay extra great amounts of money to the opposition, and the money's not there. The money's not there in the fight, so he wasn't going to do it. He's too smart for that. So he wasn't going to do it. So now you said he held you back. Well, he didn't put a gun at your head and make you re-sign a promotional contract with him when your contract was expired the first time. You did it yourself. You and your management did it.
Could have gone off to PBC.
You could have gone to anybody at that particular point, but you didn't want to do that. So now you're complaining. If I would have, come on, man, be a man. He promised me Errol Spence. He couldn't get me Errol Spence. Well, he tried to get Errol Spence, but Al Hammond wouldn't let him have Errol Spence. And if he had got Errol Spence, he had to pay this crazy amount of money. So he wasn't going to do that. That's why he still got money and still promote.
And who would win if you were to put Crawford and Spence in the ring?
I don't know. I'll get a 50-50 fight. I like Errol Spence. Errol Spence coming to fight. He's a throwback fighter. He can fight inside. He can fight outside. He can take a punch. He ain't scared. He come to dominate. Crawford is a master boxer. He's a master boxer. So it's a very interesting fight.
Mm-hmm.
I
Okay.
give it 50-50.
Okay, let's switch back to the heavyweights. Fury versus Usyk.
Fury.
Undisputed. Why?
All day. He's too good of a boxer. He's too big. He's too good of a boxer. He'll know how to fight him. You know how to adjust. He'll beat Usyk. Usyk can't beat no Fury. Fury might stop him.
Fury might stop him.
Yeah, Fury. See, Usyk jumping around the ring and bouncing in and out and over here and over. All that wouldn't phase Fury. Fury too good.
Okay. Yeah. Fury versus Dillian White.
Same thing. Knock him out.
Why?
Beat him up bad, because style make fights. Dillian White can't stop in boxing, so you got to try to fight him. You try to fight him, you're gonna bring the fight to him, and you're gonna get hit from all different angles coming in everywhere. Yeah. Okay. I got to go with Fury.
Here's a guy that I have my eye on. Frank Sanchez. What's your thoughts on Frank Sanchez?
I like him.
Aha.
Yeah. I like him. I watched him real close, and I said, wait a minute, this kid here got skill. This kid can fight. This kid is hard to beat. That's one guy that can well, I guess it can surprise some people, but after me watching him, no, he's too good. He's a good fighter. I'm not saying he can whoop Fury nobody right now, but he's a good fighter.
Stacey, you're hiding on this. I see the top of your head now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but
yeah, there you are. You're hiding.
Yeah.
Frank Sanchez, I think, is a very good fighter. Gerard Anderson. They're saying that he could whoop Deontay Wilder today. I'm not sure. I think he's a good fighter, but I find he sort of reminds me of the guy that fights Boots Ennis. When he's throwing punches, he leaves himself open for counters.
Right.
They fight very similar like that. They throw the shots, but they're not defensively responsible. Both Boots Ennis and him are very similar like that. They're not defensively responsible. They look great on offense, but they leave themselves. They'll give you opportunities to crack them. Both of them, I've noticed. Right. But I could be wrong about that.
No, you're right. You're right. They all offense and no defense. See, they all offense and there's no defense. And you can't be out there in that weight class getting hit upside the head, because these guys are big. Everybody, they don't have to be devastating punches to take you out. So you got to work on your defense. You really got to work on your defense. So they'll pick it up down the road. They'll learn. And like I said, they got to get somebody to teach them, though. They got to be taught all this stuff. They just can't pick it up.
So where does Frank Sanchez get all that skill set from? Because now he's being trained by Eddie Reynoso. which is Canelo's
Well,
trainer.
I don't know where he got it from, but wherever he got it, he got it.
He's definitely got it in.
There's no doubt about it. And what was that? Who was that last kid he fought? What was his name?
Christian Hammer, who Huey Fury fought.
Yeah,
or Jagba.
Yeah, then he was high on Jackbar, and I told him, I said, he ain't gonna be able to beat this boy. He gonna get stopped.
I never rated a Jagba. I thought a Jagba, I don't know what it was, where he had the breakup with his trainer, but he just didn't seem mentally. He just seemed like something was missing with him, a Jagba, like he was just going for the motions.
Yeah, he not only he's a big, strong kid. In fact, I watched him in the Olympics and all that. But he's a big, strong kid. But one thing there's one thing about him that I was telling Kevin Cunningham about him. I said, this kid can't see a right hand. I said, he can't see right hands. I said, now he fighting this kid Sanchez. I said, I said, watch it. He gonna get knocked out with a right hand, and I'm watching the fight. They said, what? I said, he can't see right hands. The right hand was killing him. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of fighters can't see right hands. Get hit with right hands. You know, I'm gonna give you a little secret. When Joe Joyce fought Dubois, have you noticed that Joe Joyce was taking a half a step to his right most of the time? Okay. Which means he was pulling himself away from his boy's right hand. See, that's what he was doing. He's stepping over there, and Dubois, with no experience, he didn't realize what was going on, that he should have stepped to his left to make Joe Joyce go the opposite direction into his right hand.
Walk into the right hand.
But he didn't know it. He didn't know what to do. And his trainers didn't know what to do. That's what I just finished telling you. And his trainers couldn't tell him how to adjust. So he just stayed with what was going on with the flow. Just that simple. With the flow. I remember as good as James Toney was. And I started James Toney when I was 12 years old, and I got ready to fight him with Samuel Peters. And I told Samuel Peters, I said, look, he gonna shoulder roll on you. He gonna roll to his left. Make him go, hit him with the left hooks to the body, to the head, and step over and make him go the opposite direction, right into your right hand. And that's what he did. I said, you got to make him go to the opposite direction. And when Dubois was fighting, he never picked it up. He couldn't pick it up because he ain't had nobody in the corner to tell him. He didn't know what was happening to him. I saw it from the very beginning. But
Ben Davidson, UK trainer, has made some statements about UK trainers. He said that they're more or less lazy and they're not that good. What are your thoughts on that? Is that harsh?
I don't know about. I don't like to talk about saying they ain't no good. I'm saying I will say what I don't think they know this particular fighter, how to train this particular fighter. I'm not gonna say they're no good, because you never know. Different styles come from different cultures. I had the Katomik from the Ukraine when he fought Dele Alexander. Actually, we beat him, but they gave it to Alexander. But anyway, a lot of Ukrainian fighters, I'll tell you one thing about them, they're hard workers. I know that much. They listen and they work extremely hard because they're hungry. So, I got a lot of respect for Ukrainian fighters.
What about fighters from the UK, or trainers from the UK, Britain, English trainers?
Right.
What are your thoughts on English trainers?
Well, they're good. They're good trainers. They got that good stand up style. The straight style, the jab, the straight right hand, and they got their style. But in order to beat the American fighters that has, let's say, fighters that box like Redick Bowe and guys like that, they have a problem with those guys because they don't have the skills, the total package skill set. They're good. Now, don't get me wrong. They're good. And they're powerful. They're strong, and they work hard. Their work ethic is unbelievable. But they don't have that slickness, what we call slickness. They don't have that. So a lot of them come here to like Lennox Lewis and all. They all come here to try to get some of that. We call it grease.
Absolutely.
That grease,
Something you mentioned in a previous interview, you mentioned that Anthony Joshua, and when you said it, I was stunned. But subsequently, you said that he was asking Andre Durrell how to fight as a southpaw. He was asking for Andre Durrell's advice. You told us that.
Right.
And when you told me that, I found it hilarious. And I'm thinking, why the hell would you do that? But subsequently, we've seen Joshua going around looking for trainers all around the place, looking for help. What sort of sign does that send to the opposition fighter looking for all these trainers?
The fighter placed a call to get Andre to come over. Okay, he wanted somebody to tell him how to fight a southpaw. Now, why would you bring another fighter in to tell you how to fight a southpaw? If you want to know how to really fight this guy, why don't you bring in another trainer that know how to fight southpaw? But he brought him over there to tell me how I should fight this. It's a disgrace and it's an embarrassment to the trainers that you got there. It's an embarrassment. I mean, it tells you that you're confused and your trainer's confused. If you got to do something like that, you know, it tells you, it tells the story. You know, you bring him over here and say, well, how should I fight this southpaw? Here's your head trainer right there. Come on, don't make any sense. That's saying that my trainer don't know. You're a fighter. You tell me how to do it. So it's crazy, man. But that's where he is. That's where his mindset is. And now I guess he's trying to clean it up. But he realized that, hey, this if he take this fight and lose, well, you know, everything is over with.
Let me put you, in the position of Robert McCracken. So, Robert McCracken, you've been training Joshua most of your life. Trained Joshua, took him for the amateurs, brought him in as a pro, took him to the heavyweight championship of the world. And your fighter, Anthony Joshua, is now going around the world looking for other trainers while you're still considered the head trainer. Your thoughts and how do you handle that situation?
Well, my thoughts would be, okay, you don't have the confidence in me that you once had. You feel that you're looking for something new, you're looking for something different. Okay, what I would do is, okay, I'll suggest that, all right, who do you think you want to work with? You want me to find somebody for you? Then let's get somebody else to come here that you think that can help you. And then I'll work behind that person. You know, I'll work behind that person. See, what happens is a lot of trainers and people get their feelings hurt. They get their feelings hurt in boxing. And see, I learned a long time ago, you can't put your personal feelings in the boxing business. If you don't, you sure enough get your heart broke. So the bottom line is you get to learn how to like Don said, working together works. You know, so that's just like I'm bringing Redick Bowe. Redick Bowe got to come in and work with me. Now, I'm not the type of trainer to say, well, I don't want Redick Bowe here. I want all the glory. I want to be the guy. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay. My whole thing, I'll bring in another trainer. Let's say McCracken bring in another trainer to work with him. And let's make this thing together. Working together works. You know, and he has to have that, but I don't know if he got that mental concept or not, but that's the way it is. You know, we don't get rid of anybody. We just add to.
Well, that's what he said before.
And the ones that want to accept it, they got to go. Look, Trevor's calling me now. I'm going to have to get out of here.
Okay.
Great talking.
Just soon.
Okay.
So there you have it. Another exclusive interview with trainer Stacey McKinley, former trainer of Mike Tyson, current trainer of the WBA regular heavyweight champion of the world, Trevor Bryan, who fights this weekend on the Don King's promotion. So, hope you've enjoyed it. This has been BWTM Sports Gaming, another exclusive Stacey McKinley. Thank you as always. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave your comments, like the video. It's been a busy night on BWTM Sports. I hope you've appreciated it. Thank you.